Okay, so now when you play your scene, right, we can move around and you see your kind of like your hands as these laser beams, right? That's the ray tracer. But we want to interact with objects now. And we have more than just the ray tracer that we could use. So the default, right, our left hand, we're going to keep it as a ray tracer, right? So you get this ray interactor script, the line renderer, the interactor line visual. But let's go ahead and make our other hand be something where I can just grab something. So I'm going to go to the right hand controller, and I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of all these things except for our XR controller. So remove component and remove component, right? So I'm just left on my right hand with an X-ray controller. So I'm going to add a component here, right? Look for interactor, and I have XR direct interactor. And then the next thing I need is a sphere collider. And I'm going to click is trigger to have that on. Okay, and so that's different. Now, if we were to run this, we'd see our laser beam on one side, and we wouldn't see anything for our right hand, right? So we should put some things. So we're going to put in the controller things that come with this package. Unfortunately, this package doesn't come with hands, and we could get hand meshes with animations, but that's a whole nother ordeal. So we're going to just, for now, just use controllers. And so how do we do that? Well, if we go down here and we type in controller, you'll see these black XR controller ones. We'll just use those, right? And so one of these is right, so that one's right. So we want to put that on the right hand. So we open up our XR controller component, and you'll see this model prefab right here. And I'm going to just drag, right, our model prefab onto that. Whoops, that one was the left one. Let me redo that one to the right one. And here's the thing, when you put these in, for whatever reason, it has them backwards. So we're going to have to do something a little fancy here. So I'm going to go right hand controller, I'm going to control click on it, and I'm going to say create empty, right? And I'm going to call this right controller transform. And I'm just going to go up here to rotation and turn it to 180. And I'm going to go back, click on my right hand controller under where I had just put the right controller. You see this model, excuse me, model parent. I'm going to go ahead and add that transform right there. Same thing with the left hand. We might as well do the left hand too, right? So this time here's the model prefab. I'm going to grab our left one, put it in there. I'm going to right click on this, say create an empty. I'll call it left controller. Oops, transform, just something that is nice so I know what it is. Select the left hand controller and drag this into here. Of course, I forgot to set the 180 here, so let's go to the rotation, the y-axis, 180 degrees. And there we go there. Those should actually now look correct if we were to run it. But we don't have anything to interact with other than our teleportation. So we should probably build us, you know, a little table with some things on it, right? So let me do something like this. I'll put it over to my right here. I'm going to grab a game object, a cube, right? And so this cube will be, you know, 1 meter high. That's good, right? Because we could stand up and interact with that. And I'll use a little bit of scaling, just kind of make it into a table here, right? And let me kind of get myself around here. And we'll make sure it's kind of on the ground without falling through. Right there, that should be good. Do I have to put a rigid body on it? I'm not sure. Let's I think with the box collider, that's enough. I don't think we need to do anything else here. What I will do then is put some stuff on top of this table. So let's do a game object. Let's put in a cube. And I'll just make it a little smaller. Go smaller. There you are. Bring it down to the table. Is it on the table? It is way not even on the table here. So let me just bring this bad boy so it's on this table. Hard to say. So you know what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go into assets. Oops, just stop this right here. I'm going to put a new folder in. I'll call it my assets. Just like we did in the first video, I'll control click on this, say create a material. Where you at here? And I'll make this one, I'll just make it green, you know, some color of green, and drag it onto my this. There we go. That makes it a lot easier for me to see what's going on here. All right, so let's make this even smaller. Right, we'll make a little tiny thing. Okay, and we'll make a sphere as well. Bring you over here. Where are you? Let's make it smaller. Grab my material on it. Make it a little easier to deal with. And put it on our table. Let's make it a little smaller real quick. Okay, so we have some objects now that we're going to be able to grab and move. So we have to add a script to it to let it know that it can be grabbed. So I have just one of them selected. I'm going to go into add component, and I'm going to look for XR grab interactable. You notice that'll give you a rigid body, so you could change any of these things that you might want to change, but I'd probably just leave those as is. And we have, you see all these other things, and we can leave all these things as is. Same thing, go over here, add a component, same thing, grab interactable. Now, if we were to go ahead and build and run, we'd be able to use our X-ray to actually use our, what is it, the trigger button, or is it the back joystick, to grab it with our laser, or on our left hand. And on our right hand, we'd be able to actually just use the trigger button to grab it, and we can grab it and throw it and everything like that. So that's pretty useful. Now, what if you have something these are just like, it grabs it by the middle by default. So what if I wanted something like a gun or a sword or something that I had to grab a certain spot? What you can do is, and I'll add a cube here real quick, throw this on to make my life easier. Make sure we're here. There we are. Okay, let's make this smaller, but actually what I'm going to do is make this one like this, something like this, and kind of place this over here on the table. And get rid of this one over here. And so this thing, like, let's say I wanted to grab it and it would grab this way and it would be 90 degrees. Well, what we could do for this case is, come on, I can grab that. Is on our object, which is cube here, I'll go ahead and create an empty over it, and I'll call this, I don't know, grab transform. And so now it's deciding where to place this on this object to grab it. So I'll just kind of move this over here. I'll probably take this thing and I'll say rotate it. Where would I rotate this? Probably 90 degrees. Maybe this will be 90 degrees, right? So, you know, you'd have to figure out how you know, what transform does it. You could actually move this in space and do that, and if it makes it easier for you to visualize it. But same thing here. One thing we almost forgot to do was add the grab interactable, and what we have to do for that is the attach transform. Take our new transform and throw it in this attach right here. And that's pretty much all you would need to do now. Now we have these little controllers. We have one hand. Our right hand is going to be a grabbing hand without an X-ray beam, while our left hand will maintain the ray tracer with our little laser beam. Whoops, I forgot something super important here. And you'll notice right now, if you ran it and you grabbed it, it would actually kind of push you backwards as you hold it, because what's happening, there's like kind of a collider issue going on. If you have that, you might not have it, but the way to handle that is your XR rig. See, our size by default of our XR rig is a little too much. I think by default it's 0.5, right? So that's like half a meter big, and things will interact with that. The only way I figured out to fix this was to take it down to something like smaller. And, you know, I think I used 0.01, you know, and that will keep it from doing that problem right there in the radius. If you're having that problem, you can experiment with just like 0.1 or just 0.1 to see what works, based on these things. But that's how you could fix this for now. Probably not the most elegant way. The most elegant way would be to script these things so that when you pick one up, they go on what's called a different layer. But I think it's a little too complicated for us. I think we're fine just using this little hack here.